is there a renaissance bit on DVDs, kind of in the same way there was with vinyls? How like vinyl records now outsell CDs, even though streaming's still king on that. Do you think DVDs and VHS could kind of have an emergence like that?
Yeah, I think we're kind of at the early stages of that. I think that is hopefully what's happening now. If you look at actual sales numbers for physical media, for DVD, Blu-ray, everything, it is still down like 10 to 20% year over year, and it has been for the last decade since streaming hit. But I'm waiting for it to plateau, which I think is coming soon, and people are realizing that with the amount of money you're spending each month on the streaming service, just do the calculations of like, hey, how much do you actually watch? Like if you watch 5 to 7 movies a month, which I think for people who don't love movies as much as I do, like that's a fair amount of movies. That's 1, 2 a week. Say you watch. I mean, you can buy those on DVD right now for like, or even on Blu-ray in higher formats for $5 to $10 easily, and spend about $40 to $60 maybe on watching those movies, versus you're paying for 6 streaming services at $20 a month, and you're paying 2-3 times as much money to watch the same content. So I think people are starting to come around to like, especially as the prices keep going up, people are coming around to the fact that, hey, this value is not really great right now unless you spend like all day on it, and they're going to start cutting some of these services. Like I just don't see them all surviving, and when some of them go, that brings back the sort of renaissance of like physical media and DVD, Blu-ray, and there's also just like vinyl, there's so many, like the stuff's not really coming from Sony Music or anything. Like it's coming from these independent labels that are licensing things out and then doing really cool special editions and collector stuff. And like that's the way the market shifted, and that's really the way that the studios have shifted too, as they've de-emphasized it. Like Disney doesn't do their own DVD, Blu-ray stuff in-house anymore. They ship it out to actually Sony, believe it or not, who handles it all for them and still does a ton of that stuff.
Wow.
Universal and Warner Brothers have teamed up, and now they actually have a agreement to do physical media and kind of like leverage each other's resources to keep that going. And like that would have never happened before. You would have never seen Universal and Warner Brothers come together. And then there's places like Paramount that are just licensing out to all these really cool independent labels who they just let do the restoration work, build your own artwork, do your own special features. They just, here's the film, go do what you want with it. And they're all doing a great job at releasing this stuff that, honestly, there aren't many people left at the major studios who are working on this. They've become software companies. So those people now work at these smaller indie labels, and they're just like record labels. That's the way I look at them. A lot of them do vinyl records as well. Like it's a very popular crossover. So that's the way it's definitely heading. And we're like, this was the first year where I made a top 10 list of my favorite stuff that's come out on home video. And I don't think, I might've had one that was actually from the studio. Oh, yeah. Everything else was from an independent label or something that was licensed out, because that's just the way it's moving. And I think that's okay. And I think people will find that stuff, and it will eventually plateau and then come back a little bit. And I see so many people online every day. I get a message about, hey, I want to jump back into this. I want to buy a DVD again, or where can I get a Blu-ray player? I want to buy some of this stuff. I see it at this, online for $3. I'm like, why am I paying for streaming?
Exactly.
The quality's better on physical media. I mean, there's a lot of arguments that are the same as vinyl. You have ownership of it. Nobody can take it away from you. You own it. It's the highest quality. You can watch something. It's the best sound. It's the best picture. Like all that stuff that people love about vinyl and CDs and everything. Like very much the same argument, which I think is why it will come around.
Yeah. Well, to your point, and I know you talk about this too on your social media, just the idea of investing in your home theater and then collecting those DVDs, I mean, you can make a great experience, not just for movies, but then if that TV and sound system is what you use to watch live sports and stuff like
Yep.
that, and you got a killer way to consume TV and media, and truly less expensive than streaming and going to the theater.
It can, yeah, if you look at it long term, like that's what I think the argument would be. I think everybody in the world right now is kind of has a short term look on a lot of things, and the $15 a month doesn't seem like a lot because, and there's a reason they charge you monthly, right?
Yes.
It seems like less money up front, but if you look at all of that together and you're spending a couple $1,000s a year on streaming services,
Really.
you take 2 or 3 years worth of that and you put it into a TV and some decent speakers and a little bit of a movie collection. Like, not only are you getting a better experience, but you're also like just in total control, and you become you are your own algorithm. Like, you build your own collection
your
of
own algorithm. I like that.
personal tastes, and you build your own collection of stuff, and you're not relying on scrolling and 20 minutes of scrolling before you decide what to watch.
Really.
You bring that kind of video store experience into your house. Browse the shelf. You got your favorites. You bought some new stuff you haven't seen yet. Make a couple piles and go through it. And then when you're through those, the beauty is you may not get much for them, but you could give them to a friend. You can trade them in. You could sell them.
Yeah.
And then buy a few more. And just, and it's going to be cheaper long term than streaming would be to do that.
Yeah. And I love that too. I remember with Blockbuster, you go there, and unlike streaming now where you can watch the trailer and be like, I don't know. You just had to kind of go off like, oh, this is a cool cover. And you pick it and you watch the movie you maybe never would have watched anyways. And I think that's a really cool, unique experience in terms of kind of picking a movie or choosing what to watch that. Like, I know my kids don't get because they just watch what they want to watch on streaming.
Right.
They do that a bit with vinyls. We do have a vinyl record player and a good little vinyl collection, and so they'll ask to like listen to music for dinner, and I think they enjoy the nostalgia of that. But yeah, that would be a great thing to replicate, just like an at-home Blockbuster. you know, that experience.
You make a real commitment to what you're watching, which you don't have right now. Like,
No, you don't.
if you start watching a movie on Netflix, a lot of people, I would love to look at their stats, and they'll probably never release them, but I would love to look at stats at how many movies that are started on Netflix actually get finished. And my guess would be it's not a very high number. I think a lot of people, and they put it on in the background too. There's no real commitment to watching, versus you go to Blockbuster and you take that movie home. Well, what are you going to do? It's 10 o'clock at night. Blockbuster's closed.
Yeah.
That's the movie you're watching. And you know what? You might find something you end up really liking by the end because you stuck with it. Yeah. You might find something you hate, and okay, I don't want that next time. But there isn't that like intention, and there's no human like connection to it. It's a machine versus going to the store, somebody giving you a recommendation, like talking with the guy next to you who's also browsing the shelf, who sees you pick this out and goes, oh, that was good. That was, I liked that. That was cool. If you like this movie, you'll probably enjoy that. Yeah. Like, there's none of that. You're just totally in your own bubble. And so much stuff just gets, I actually just read an article that said Netflix is like working on content specifically that can just be put on in the background. And that they're like telling people who are writing scripts to write in like really important moments, or like make them louder or more intentional, so people do look up and go, hey, this is important, which to me is just like defeats the purpose of a movie. Like, don't watch it if you're not going to watch it. Just, scroll on your phone or whatever, if that's the mood you're in. It makes no sense, but they just want you on the app. So they truly don't care what you like or what you enjoy. As long as the app's going and it's running, they're getting what they want.
And I wonder too if that is, because I know YouTube specifically has had a lot of success with that, where people just put on a video, someone talking about it, whatever, or family vlog, whatever, and they just run it in the background. So YouTube's able to just like have a lot of ad revenue off of that. And so I guess these streaming services are just kind of trying to copy that, where they replace it, and instead of going on YouTube, just go on Netflix or Max or wherever.
YouTube is still their biggest competitor when it comes to watch time.
Yeah.
YouTube is still the most watched thing, even on TVs, with the amount of people that have the app on their TV.
Yes.
So yeah, their whole competition is YouTube. And so that's how they've naturally
Yeah.
evolved, for better or worse, to match that.